24 Navy SEALs listened to Jessica Buchanan's desperate voice begging for help. The 32-year-old American teacher lay in the Somali desert, suffering from a kidney infection, held by armed men who'd taken her 93 days ago. She'd gone to Africa to teach children how to read, how to stay safe from landmines. Now she needed America to save her. The same unit that got bin Laden was coming for her, but time was running out. With her medical condition worsening by the hour, they were her only hope for survival. Inside the MC-130 aircraft flying through a massive solar storm, the team prepared for what might be a one-way mission. Wind speeds were double what would cancel any other jump. Their communications were already failing, but they were going anyway. 24 Americans would jump through hell itself to save two people they'd never met, Jessica and her Danish colleague, Paul Thiested. One operator pulled out a photo of his daughters, both teachers like Jessica. Another touched the wedding ring under his glove, thinking about Jessica's husband, Eric, waiting for news. They'd watched her proof-of-life video dozens of times during training. Her voice, the fear in her eyes, that's what drove them forward. These weren't just warriors. They were fathers who couldn't stand the thought of Jessica's parents losing their daughter. 27,000 feet below, Jessica Buchanan had given up hope. She'd accepted she would never see her husband again, never have the children she'd dreamed about. Her body was shutting down from infection. She could barely move. She didn't know that at this very moment, American warriors were standing at the aircraft door, seconds from jumping into the darkness. The green light came on. The first SEAL jumped into the storm, then another and another. 24 men falling through chaos at 120 miles per hour. Then everything went wrong. The storm wasn't just interfering with equipment, it was pushing them miles off course. They were falling blind through an electric hurricane, and somewhere below, nearly a dozen pirates with automatic weapons were about to get the fight of their lives. The wind grabbed the SEALs like an invisible giant. They were spinning through pitch-black sky. This wasn't jumping. This was barely controlled falling. The solar storm made their equipment go haywire. GPS readings jumping everywhere. Radios dead. 24 men falling blind through the darkness, thinking about one teacher and her colleague who needed them. One SEAL's parachute twisted into a tangled mess. He had seconds to react. With incredible calm, he cut it away and pulled his reserve. It opened with barely 500 feet to spare. Any lower and he wouldn't have made it. Another operator got blown so far off course he couldn't see anyone. But these men had trained for everything to go wrong. They'd prepared for the worst. Because when American lives hang in the balance, you don't get to quit because it's hard. The team leader hit the ground hard. The impact knocked the wind out of him. His parachute dragged him across rocks and thorns. But all he could think about was Jessica and Paul. That teacher who'd given up everything to help African children was counting on them, even if she didn't know it. He cut free from his chute, activated his infrared beacon, and counted the signals. 23 lights blinked back, all there. First miracle of the night. They had to march for miles through the desert, over 100 degrees even at midnight. The heat was suffocating. Each man carried 60 pounds of gear, medical supplies for the hostages, water to save their lives, equipment to bring them home. Every step was agony. Thorns punched through their boots, but they pushed forward, Jessica's voice from that video playing in their minds, the fear in her eyes. That's what kept them going. 3 times they had to freeze when goat herders passed nearby. 24 warriors lying flat in the dirt, thorns digging into their faces, holding their breath. One sound and the mission fails. One mistake and Jessica's parents lose their daughter forever. The stress was crushing, but these men had made a promise to each other and to America: bring our people home. Nothing would stop them. Not the desert, not the heat, not the enemy. 500 yards from the camp, they could finally hear voices. The captors were laughing, celebrating. They had no idea their time was up. Through night vision, the team leader could see the camp layout. And there they were, Jessica and Paul, lying on the ground, barely moving. They looked so small, so fragile. 2 guards stood over them with rifles. Every SEAL felt the same rage. These men had stolen an innocent teacher from the children she was helping. Justice was coming. The team leader gave the signal to spread out. They formed a line in the darkness. They could see everything through their night vision while the guards were blind. This was the advantage America gives its heroes. This was why Jessica would live. They began crawling forward, silent as shadows. 200 meters, 150. Close enough to hear Jessica's labored breathing. The moment of truth was seconds away. What happened next? We can't show it all here without YouTube slapping this video with a warning, but we can show you on Patreon. To watch the full-length video completely uncensored, subscribe to my Patreon page, where there are no restrictions on what we can tell and show you there. Scan the code or use the link in the description now to watch the full video. One guard suddenly stood up. Something had spooked him. Maybe a sound, maybe instinct. He was looking directly at the SEALs, though he couldn't see them in the darkness. The team leader held his breath. If this guard raised the alarm now, Jessica and Poole could be hurt before they reached them. Everyone remained perfectly still, invisible in the night. The guard took a step forward, then another. His hand moved toward his rifle. The team leader had a split second to decide. Wait and risk the hostages, or act now. He thought of Jessica's parents. He thought of those African children missing their teacher. He thought of Jessica and Paul, suffering in the desert. The decision made itself. He whispered into his radio.
Execute, execute, execute.
24 SEALs rose from the earth like avenging angels. The guard's eyes went wide. He saw them coming, but it was too late. The rescue unfolded with precision. 24 weapons engaging simultaneously. Guards scrambling for rifles they'd never reach. Men who'd held an innocent teacher and aid worker for 3 months, facing American justice. But the team leader was focused on the hostages. 2 guards were standing directly over Jessica and Paul, raising their weapons. Without thinking about his own safety, one SEAL broke from cover and sprinted straight at them. His teammate ran beside him. 2 American fathers charging across open ground to save the hostages. The guards swung their rifles toward the charging SEALs. They had maybe 1 second to reach Jessica, 1 second to save her life. The SEAL didn't hesitate. He dove through the air, covering Jessica completely with his armored body just as his teammate neutralized both threats above them. He felt the impact around them, heard the chaos, but he held Jessica down, protecting her with everything he had. She was screaming, terrified, not understanding what was happening. More SEALs surrounded them, creating layer after layer of human shields around the tiny teacher.
Jessica Buchanan, the SEAL shouted over the noise. We're Americans. We're here to save you.
He pulled back his night vision goggles so she could see his face.
Look at me. Look at my flag. United States military. You're going home.
She couldn't process it. 3 months of captivity had broken her ability to hope. She kept touching his face like she needed proof he was real. Around them, the threats were being neutralized. The entire operation took less than a minute, but they weren't safe yet. They could hear vehicles in the distance, possible reinforcements. They had to move now. The SEAL tried to help Jessica stand, but her legs wouldn't work. 3 months of captivity had devastated her body. Without hesitation, he picked her up like a child. She weighed almost nothing. "I've got you," he said. "You're safe now. We're taking you home." Another SEAL was carrying Paul. Time to leave before the enemy reinforcements could cut them off. The SEALs formed a protective diamond around their precious cargo. Every angle covered, every approach guarded. These warriors who traveled halfway around the world for 2 hostages were not going to fail now. Behind them, demolition charges were being set. In 60 seconds, this camp would cease to exist. A message to anyone who might think about taking another American. Jessica tried to speak but could barely whisper.
Are you real? Is this real?
The SEAL held her tighter.
Yes, ma'am. We're as real as it gets. We're SEAL Team 6. The same guys who got Bin Laden. And now, we're getting you.
She started crying then. 3 months of fear and pain pouring out while being carried to safety by American warriors who'd risked everything for her. They reached the extraction point just as the Black Hawk helicopters thundered in, the most beautiful sound in the world. The SEAL ran straight for the open door. Jessica clutched against his chest. As he lifted her into the aircraft, she suddenly found strength she didn't know she had. She pulled herself inside and crawled to the far corner, pressing herself against American steel. For the first time in 93 days, she was safe. Paul was loaded in behind her, both hostages secure. As the helicopter lifted off, the demolition charges detonated. The explosion lit up the night sky. Every weapon, every piece of equipment vaporized. The camp where Jessica and Poole had suffered for 3 months was erased from existence. Below, any approaching reinforcements got the message loud and clear. America had come for its people. A young SEAL crawled over to Jessica. This warrior who'd just fought to save her was now gentle as a father. Without saying a word, he reached into his vest and pulled out a carefully folded American flag. He pressed it into Jessica's trembling hands. She clutched that flag like it was life itself, pressing it against her face as a 3-month nightmare finally ended.
You're safe now,
he said softly.
We've got you.
Bye for now.